What's going on, everyone? Memories here. Today, I'll be showing you how I play the Rogue class in Legacy, Steel, and Sorcery. The Rogue is a melee skirmisher. It focuses on afflictions, mobility, and utility. The class is going to thrive when weaving in and out of combat, playing around important cooldowns. I kind of think of Sword Rogue as a jack of all trades, master of none. It sticks to ranged opponents really well, but it doesn't have the easiest kill pressure on some of your other melee opponents. Dagger Rogue, on the other hand, is going to highlight a more traditional rogue gameplay. Focus on burst and poison. The Dagger Rogue will thrive in solo gameplay, but it might struggle against multiple opponents without strong team communication. Starting off here with our resource bar in the bottom left, we got mana. It's used for class skills, it regenerates over time, and most classes use mana. Now, Adrenaline is our unique rogue resource, it's the yellow bar, and it regenerates slowly while out of combat. For swords, Adrenaline equals consistent additional damage. For Dagger, Adrenaline is actually necessary for some of the burst combos. Now, as you can see here, I have a pretty empty Adrenaline bar, so I'm doing less damage on this dummy. If I get some Adrenaline back, those damage numbers are going to jump right up. Big thing to help you out here, Dunestalker Foot Guards. Hitting enemies with your evade attack generates adrenaline. So every time I evade, I'm getting some adrenaline back, as long as I connect with an enemy. Helps you keep that up, and helps you keep doing consistent damage. I'm also going to mention here our double jump. It's a unique option, which helps with mobility, and completely fulfills the rogue class fantasy. Alright, so starting off here with class skill 1, our Affliction Applicators. I run Serrated Claw, does a really nice hemorrhage buildup, which equates to damage burst whenever it procs. The bleed damage over time afterwards is nice for some additional pressure. You can run Poison Claw, that does the long damage over time with healing reduction. Really good in lower gear brackets. And Infected Claw, of course, does disease buildup, long affliction, no damage, and it reduces stamina efficiency and overall damage output. Apply the claw, 30% buildup. Any additional damage while they're marked contributes to that hemorrhage. Big proc there for a lot of damage. Moving on here to class skill 2, I like to run Phantom Veil. It summons a decoy which mimics your current actions and grants you a very brief period of true invisibility. It turns into a period of camouflage shortly after. True invis, camouflage, and we teleport to our clone. Really clean. Shroud is good for daggers. It's a basic invisibility, no clone, lots of true invis, and it turns into camouflage after a longer period. But of course, damage breaks all stealth effects. Creep, really this is your rat skill. Low mobility, camouflaged when moving, and it turns into true invis after a brief period of standing still. And finally, we have class skill 3, our engagement tree. So Phantom Dagger is what I run. It's a medium range projectile. It inflicts a shadow damage over time, and it can be recasted to cancel the damage over time and slowly teleport towards your enemy, rooting them in the process. I really like to weave this in while jumping. It cancels a lot of the animation and catches the enemy off guard. Alright, so let's talk about swords. They synergize best with Dunestalker equipment. Our weapon skill, Blade Rush, charging forward after a brief delay, gaining unstoppable after a brief period, and enemies hit take heavy physical damage while being marked for hemorrhage buildup. This is totally separate from your claw weapon skills. Now that means it synergizes very well with Serrated Claw to guarantee sources of hemorrhage buildup, but also means that you can run something like Poisoned or Infected Claw so that you're covering multiple afflictions. We have our left-click auto attacks. They sequence into a multi-hit combo and consume adrenaline on each swing for additional damage. We have our charged left-click auto attacks. Big damage, big range, and area of effect. You can partially charge it for some comparable results. Really helpful because this still staggers the enemy. Evade attack, or double evade attack, gives you extended range and sticking power. Your sprint attack closes a lot of distance And the big call out here is this breaks 2 block pips. It's very important against enemies that can block. And you can parry if you hit block directly before certain attacks connect. It takes practice to get the feel for which attacks can be parried and which can't, but general idea is if you can get a parry, riposte, and that does big damage and a knockdown effect. Now daggers. These are going to synergize best with Dustcrawler and Venom Weaver. Our weapon skill here is Cheap Shot. It's going to stun enemies in front of us after a short animation. Long Stun allows for heavy burst and a chance for poison, or even running away. Our left click auto attacks, multi-hit combo. No adrenaline consumption, best used on a marked enemy, because then we're going to keep applying that build-up. Our charged left click, big damage, crits on backstab, but uses a lot of adrenaline. Emerald Rippers are great here. Now these are going to crit no matter what, if an enemy is poisoned or not. Our evade attack, or double evade attack, really helpful for a light stagger and transition into a multi-hit combo. And the sprint attack, similar to sword, but it's going to close a lot of distance and snare the enemy. Really good for catching people when you're initially going on them. And finally, our right click, Spider Bite. Consumes adrenaline, applies heavy poison buildup. Moving on to class tools, we have our Poison Dart for poison buildup and small damage. It stops enemy potions and other actions. Really helpful from the mid-range. Paralyzing Dart works just the same, but it has a long silence, snare effect, limited uses, and a long cooldown. Smoke Bomb is our best defensive option with a moderate cooldown. It synergizes very well with Nightsinger Blades for multiple Blade Rush combos. We also have Lockpicks. These are equivalent to a very basic Skull Key. You won't see me running them later in a wipe, but they're great for looting, especially early on in the season. Alright, so let's talk about general gameplay. I prefer the Nightsinger Blades. Using Blade Rush from Stealth resets its cooldown. Bonecarver Blades are an option, they give you more damage on Blade Rush. Viper's Kiss is an option, allows your Blade Rush to contribute to poison buildup. In general, Blade Rush is really easy to dodge, so the more Blade Rushes, the better. You can use it as a gap closer that costs 0 stamina. Now as we're fighting the enemy, we can engage with something like Phantom Dagger, Stealth, Blade Rush, and we can follow up however we want from heal. Grapple is an additional engage option. It's not going to be my preference. Visage helps with survivability, but it lowers your engage potential. With Nightsinger Blades, your Blade Rush cooldown is not consumed, and you can continue to use it for follow-up. Use Claw as a gap closer, and a big mark option. You ideally want to be hitting an enemy once they're marked for affliction buildup. And you need to make sure you have adrenaline for that extra damage. Let's talk about daggers for a second. I'm not going to swap my gear, but I'm just going to show you Emerald Rippers, the ones that guarantee backstab crits. The Venom Fang Chris and the Last Word are powerful for a poison focus or a hemorrhage focus respectively. You can engage with something like Phantom Dagger or Grapple, double dash through the enemy, root them, Cheap Shot, Claw, and then either Spider Bite or hold left click for big damage. You can even claw and then dash and hold your left click for a backstab from behind them if you time it right. If you're running Visage, you can use it for extra damage during your Cheap Shot combo and then recast for a quick getaway. Shroud is your ideal stealth option for incredible reset potential and overall slippery gameplay. So let's talk weaknesses and counters for a moment. As I mentioned before, the Sword Rogue is kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. We usually lose in a prolonged melee engagement. Warrior is the scariest matchup, and you can stay on top of all range classes, but you need to watch out for damage as you close that gap. Also need to be very wary of crowd control and big damaging combos from your opponent, who are not as tanky as some people might think. Use your mobility and utility to close the gap, stick to the enemy as best as you can, and again, weave in and out of combat. Dagger Rogue equals opportunistic gameplay. Use the map, use the PvE, play around afflictions, whittle down your opponent, and strike for a kill. I recommend Sword Rogue for team play. You offer some of the best engage in the game, and you can root opponents, cause chaos, reset while your team cleans up, and get back in there. Thanks again for sticking around. If you want to see some live Rogue gameplay, you can catch me on Twitch at itMemories or on YouTube where I'll upload some of that Twitch gameplay. I'm here for any questions or matchup advice. Final thoughts for you. Sword Rogue in particular has an incredible skill ceiling. You need to truly practice it, learn parry opportunities, learn your mobility options, and you will become a master in no time.